order numbers. I'm going to look back here at another. I did this yesterday in 6th grade, and I want to look at a certain example I did yesterday. There it is. Okay, that's what I used. All right. All right. If we have what we're going to talk about today is comparing and ordering numbers. Okay, we're going to compare them. In other words, see which one is greater, which one is smaller, and then we're going to put them in order. Okay, we're going to do a group of numbers that we're going to put in order from least to greatest. Now, I will tell you right now that in your work, there's one of the instructions that say put the number in greatest to least form. We're always going to put them in least to greatest. Okay, so always put them least to greatest, and I'll show you which ones they are here in a second, but always put them in least to greatest order. For some reason in this book, they have one little instruction that does 4 problems from greatest to least, and then it messes up. I want to look at this problem right here. I want to look at 0.23 and 0.2278. Okay? I want to look at those two numbers, both of them decimals, obviously, and I want to establish which one is larger. Okay, I want to establish which one is larger. So, raise your hand if you think you know which one is larger. Okay, Emma? 0.23. Okay, raise your hand if you would agree with Emma that 0.23 is the larger one. Okay, raise your hand if you think it's 0.2278. Okay, raise your hand if you're not sure. Thank you. Okay, so if you're not sure, obviously, that's why we're going to do the lesson, is to help you make you sure, okay, to help clear it up for you. Okay, a lot of times what people will assume is that this number here, 0.2278, has more digits, so therefore it's got to be bigger. Okay, that is not the case. Okay, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It has nothing to do with the amount of digits a number has when we're talking about decimals. Now, when you're talking about whole numbers, yes, the more digits it has, obviously the bigger the number is. Okay? But we're not talking in this particular example about whole numbers. We're talking about decimals. So, our first step when we're comparing numbers is to do this. Make sure all the numbers you are comparing have the same amount of digits. Okay? Need to be writing that down. It is on the screen. Anything I put on the screen, you need to write down. Okay? Now, so we need to make sure, that doesn't look like sure, that looks like something else. Make sure all the numbers you are comparing have the same amount of digits. So, if we were comparing those two numbers, 0.23 and 0.2278, well, I want to make sure that they have the same amount of digits. So 0.23, I would need to add 2 zeros to have the same amount of digits as 0.2278. Okay? Now that they have the same amount of digits, it's very easy to tell which one is larger. Okay? If we look at those two numbers, 0.2300 and 0.2278, if we look at those two numbers and we cover up the decimal, okay, well, that's 2,300. If I cover up this decimal, that's 2,278. Okay, well, 2,300 is going to be larger than 2,200 or 2,278. Okay, so that number is the largest. Okay? Now, to take it a step further, the second step that you need to do is to line up the numbers you are comparing vertically. Okay? So in other words, those two numbers that I'm comparing, I'm going to line them up vertically. So I'm going to take 0.2300 and 0.2278. Okay? And as I look at these numbers, the first digit in this is 2's. They're both the same. So I can't compare those two. I've got to move to the next. The next one, there's a 3 and a 2. So obviously, the 3 is larger than the 2. Okay, and so that's why we know that 0.23 would be larger than 0.227. Okay, so if we go back up here, the sign that I'm going to put in the blank is the greater than sign. Okay, let's remember our signs. This is less than. That's the inequality sign, is less than. This sign is greater than. Okay, so when you see the words is less than, they're talking about the inequality sign. And when you see the words is greater than, that's the inequality sign. Maybe back in your elementary days, your math teacher said, you want the mouth to go to the larger number. That is correct. You always want the opening of the sign to go to the larger number. You want the point, this right here, you want the point of the sign to point at the smaller number. Okay? The way that I always remember it is this. Less than, the point points to the left. Left is less than. Okay, that's just something that I always remembered. It may help you, it may confuse you. If it helps you, use it. If it confuses you, don't use it, obviously. Okay, but the less than sign always points to the left. Okay, so some easy steps for you to follow. Okay, fairly simplistic, but the biggest thing is make sure they have the same amount of digits. Okay, when you're talking especially about decimal numbers. Okay, obviously if I was comparing 10,000 to 1,000, I don't need to make sure they have the same amount of digits. I could. I mean, let's look at that. If I was comparing 10,000 to 1,000, okay, well, the only way I can make sure they have the same amount of digits is put a 0 right there. Okay, you can't put a 0 at the end of a whole number like we did with the decimals. Okay, obviously that even looks weird. 0, 1,000. Okay, so obviously when you're dealing with whole numbers, it's best just to line them up vertically, skip the first step, don't necessarily have to make them have the same amount of digits. Okay, so let's look at another example. Let's see here. Let me pull one out of here. Down here, I remember, yeah, right there. 43.75 and 47.35. Okay? Now, what they're trying to do to you here is just real quickly, you look at the problem, they've switched a couple of digits, and then you get the wrong answer. Okay, they're trying to make sure that you're actually truly looking at the problem and you're not just taking, okay, it's this. Because when you look at that problem, someone might be tempted to put an equal sign in the blank. Okay, but if you will do what I said, if you will make sure, first of all, that they have the same amount of digits, they do. Okay, both of them have 4 digits, both of them have 2 digits behind the decimal. Then let's line them up vertically. If you will line them up vertically, and you do the math right, it will help you understand which one's larger, which one's smaller. as we look at our first digits there, whoops, didn't want to do that. My highlighter didn't hit. There we go. If you look at the first digits there, they're both a 4. Okay, 4 is 4 and 4 are equal to each other. So I have to compare the next numbers. The next numbers would be the 3 and the 7. Well, which is larger, 3 or 7? 7. 7 is the larger one. Okay, 7 is the larger one, so therefore I'm going to put in a less than sign into the blank. Okay, let's see here. Next one, 3.203 blank 3.023. Okay, 3.203, let me make it 0 better. Okay, and 3.023. Well, they have the same amount of digits. Okay, so I'm okay there. So now I have to decide, I got to line them up vertically. So when you line them up vertically, you always line up the decimal in the number. Okay? Doesn't do you any good to line them up vertically if you're not lining up the decimal. So there's your two numbers, 3.203 over 3.023. Once again, the common theme here, the first number is the same. They're both 3s. So that means I have to move to the second number. The second number, one of them is a 2 and one of them is a 0. Which is larger? Tristan, 2 or 0? Huh? 2. That is correct. So if the 2 is the larger number, what inequality sign am I going to put in the blank? Less than, greater than, or equal to. Equal sign is not an inequality sign, but that's one of your choices. Okay, Noah? Greater than. So you're going to say that right there. Is that what you want? Okay, is that correct? Who thinks greater than? Raise your hand. Who thinks less than? Anybody not sure? It's okay to be not sure. All right. So it is the greater than sign. Okay, the greater than sign is what goes in the blank because 3.203 is larger than 3.02. Another way that I look at it is this way. That's $3.20. This is $3.02. I'd rather have $3.20 than $3.02. The other numbers back here don't really matter. Okay? Now, let's move into least to greatest order. Okay? So we're going to put the numbers in least to greatest order. Okay? Just a little side note here. Anybody remember a Bible verse that deals with least to greatest order? Anybody think of a Bible verse that deals with that? How about the one that deals with the first shall be last and the last shall be first? In that order? Isn't that maybe not least to greatest, but it is order. Yes, Emma. Did I? Well, I sure did. I got ahead of myself. Thank you. Ordeer. That's how they say it down south. Ordeer. We're going to put it in least to greatest ordeer. All right. Now, least to greatest order. If you will look in your book says on 4 through 6 to put them in greatest to least orders. Okay? We are not going to do that. Problems 4, 5, and 6 put in least to greatest. Okay? We're not going to, one section says greatest to least. I don't know if it was a misprint in the book or if they intended to do that. I don't know. But for our purposes today, and this evening when you do the work, you're going to put them in all. Anytime it says least to greatest or greatest to least order, you're going to put them in least to greatest order. Okay? Let's look at number 4. Somebody give me the numbers for number 4. Joshua, what's the numbers for number 4? Okay? Okay? And 1.3? All right. So I have 1.53, 15.3, and 1.3. They want you to put them in least to greatest order. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the numbers with the same amount of digits, which means I'm going to add a 0 right there, and I'm going to add a 0 right there. So I added a 0 to the 15.3 and the 1.3. The reason I did that is because the first number has 2 digits on the right of the decimal. So I want these two to have 2 digits to the right of the decimal. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them vertically. So 1.53, 15.30, and 1.30. So I stacked them vertically. Okay? Now I'm going to look at it. Well, I already know that one right there sticks out. There's that column with the 1, 5, and the 1 in it. And so that 1 right here the 1 right there sticks out. So I know that 15.3 is my largest number. So I can mark it out. So now it's just between 1.53 and 1.30. Well, if I look at that column of numbers there, the 5 and the 3, well, which is larger, 5 or 3? 5, thank you. So therefore, the 1.53 goes next. So that leaves us the only one, 1.3 is left. Now, you will notice that when I wrote the answers, I used the original numbers. Okay? I didn't put 1.30, I put 1.3. I didn't put 1.53. I did put 1.53. I didn't put 15.30. I just put 15.3. Okay? So when you list them in least to greatest order, make sure you list the original numbers. Okay? Now, I want you to do number 19 on your own. Do number 19. It's a little harder one than that one, but do number 19. When you have the answer, raise your hand. Not right now. Do number 19. So when you think you have the answer, raise your hand. They gave us the numbers 0.0625, 0.002, 0.027, and 0.207. Okay, sort of one sticks out there that doesn't look like the rest of them. Okay, give you about another 10 seconds here. Now remember, least to greatest order, not greatest to least, but least to greatest order. Okay? So, a bunch of you think you have the answer. So what I'm going to do is this. When I call on your name, you give me whatever number I'm looking for. So right now I'm looking for the smallest number. So what is the first number in your answer? Owen? .002. That is correct. That is the smallest of the numbers, .002. Okay? Now, what is next? So we can mark that one out. What is next? Joshua? 0.027. That is correct. I just put .027. Okay, so that marks that one out. So what is next? Tristan? 0.0625. Okay, good. So what is the last one, obviously? There's only one left. Brandon? Right, .207. Now, when we're calling out decimal numbers, you don't have to say the zero in front, okay? To me, it's confusing, personally, but I just like seeing, give me the answer there. Don't put all extra zeros in there. That is the least to greatest order on that problem. Okay, once again, you want to make sure you would stack them vertically. So I'd have this right here. Okay, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to add the same amount of digits. So that's what you have. Okay? And so obviously, this one stands out. 0, 0. We have this one right here. 0, 0, 0, 2. Okay? Obviously, 2 is the largest one of that group. Okay? Then you would move to the next little section right there. Okay? This one's larger than that. Now, we're thinking larger terms here, so we'd be moving back this way. Okay? We're not thinking, in other words, we're going really greatest back to least. Okay? We put the greatest one here, and then we went back to the least. Okay? So don't get that confused. The only way people usually do poorly on this lesson is they flip the order on accident. Okay? So try not to flip the order. We don't want to do that. Okay? Now, any other questions on that? Everybody look at the problems there, 1 through 19, 1 through 20 in your book. Or look through 1 through 21. Look at those problems and see if there's any in there that you might have a question on as far as what we're doing. Okay? They used a little gray circle for the blank. I just don't draw a gray circle. Okay? We did the ones with the blank. But any questions on those? Now, you have to write the original problem. Okay? Can't just put the answer. You have to write the original problem. So any questions? All right, here's what I'm going to allow you to do. Okay? You're going to have the rest of the time to work on the work, which is about 20 minutes. Okay? Here's the problems that we're going to do. We're going to do 1 through 21. Okay? So we're doing 1.3, 1 through 21. Okay? So we'll have, like I said, you have about 20 minutes in class. You can probably finish that. Remember to put your assignment title on the top line, okay, of your paper. Make sure you're doing it in your in your homework section. Make sure you're doing it in your homework section, not your note section. And make sure you're doing it in pencil, not pen. Okay, pencil, not pen. All right, make sure you write the original problem. Obviously, if you have any questions while you're doing it, come up to my desk and I'll be glad to help you.